Φυγή μαζί με τους πολεμιστές, τους κλέφτες και τους αρματολούς εναντίον του Βουλγάρου. Μετά το 1904, όταν ο αγώνας έφτασε στο έπακρον, ήρθε ο Παύλος Μελάς να τον οργανώσει, αλλά κυρίως οι πολεμιστές ήταν όλοι ντόπιοι Μακεδόνες.
The most famous hero of the Macedonian struggle was the commander Pavlo Melas. This army officer from the south alerted the Greek nation to the Macedonian cause, and he came north to organize the people and the fight. But his leadership was short-lived. He was killed within a few short months, and his hero status lives on until today. It was in this mountain village of Nymphaeon that he set up a command headquarters shortly before he died. Nymphaeon was one of those many Macedonian villages where the population did not speak Greek. Here they spoke Vlach, a Romanian-style Latin dialect. But it didn't matter what they spoke, they still joined the struggle. These Vlach-speaking villagers were sure where they belonged. Like many Slav-speaking Macedonians, their hearts, their minds and their culture were truly Greek.
Ο Μακεδονικός αγώνας ήταν ένας από τους σκληρότερους, πιο μακροχρόνιους και κυρίως ιδιόρυθμους αγώνες. Πρώτον διότι έγινε κάτω από την Οθωμανική κυριαρχία και αυτοκρατορία μεταξύ δύο εθνών, των Ελλήνων και των Βουλγάρων, οι οποίοι ήσαν υπόδουλοι. Δεύτερον, διότι αγωνιστήκαμε κυρίως εμείς οι δίγλωσσοι Μακεδόνες, οι οποίοι πολλές φορές δεν μιλούσαμε ελληνικά στα σπίτια μας, οι βλακόφωνοι και οι σλαβόφωνοι, προπάντων οι σλαβόφωνοι, για να υπερασπιστούμε την ψυχή μας, την εθνική μας ταυτότητα και την κληρονομιά που την αισθανόμαστε ότι ήταν ελληνική και θέλαμε να είναι ελληνική.
So, at the last phase of the Macedonian struggle, as it is called, I would say that the Greeks gained the southern part of Macedonia, which now belongs to the Hellenic Macedonia, and the Bulgarians, the northern part, where the Slav people were the majority, which now belongs to the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, and a very small part in Bulgaria itself.
After 4 years of fighting in Macedonia, the struggle was finally over. But another bloody chapter was about to begin.
So began the First Balkan War of 1912. But and in this war, the Balkan peoples of the area, Serbs, Montenegrins, Bulgarians and Greeks, succeeded to expel the Ottomans from the area after 5 centuries of Ottoman domination, in 2 months or less. But the problem was not finally resolved.
The irony was that Bulgaria now joined Greece. And together with the Serbs, they all now fought against their common enemy, the Turks. They wanted to rid themselves of the Ottoman rulers after nearly 500 years of domination.
The Bulgarians, who had fought alongside the other Balkan nations against the Turks, after the Turks were driven out, decided that they wanted a bit more. And so the Bulgarians started the Second Balkan War against their former allies. And they thought they were going to get their way onto the Mediterranean coast.
So Bulgarians, it seemed, would join any side to aid their expansion. But turning on their allies didn't really help them.
They were beaten in the war, they were pushed back, and their line was cut short.
The Treaty of Bucharest at the end of the Balkan Wars in 1913 divided the whole geographical area of Macedonia into 3 parts. Bulgaria received 10%, Serbia 38%, and Greece kept 52%.
The division of Macedonia was determined, as things were in those days, by the great powers in Europe, Britain, France, Russia, and so on. But in the event, the dividing lines fell more or less where the fighting ceased.
But by now, the world was deeply embroiled in the First World War. The Bulgarians, still unhappy about their slice of the division of the borders, made another move. They joined the Germans and the Turks again. This time, the Greeks and Serbians took the other side with the English and the French. By joining Germany as an occupying force, Bulgaria finally had a way to the sea. But that wasn't to last. Bulgaria had joined the losing side. When Germany lost the First World War, Bulgaria had to relinquish the territory and shrank back to the 10% allocated by the Treaty of Bucharest in 1913.
Salonika, Thessaloniki, is one of the most important harbors in the Eastern Mediterranean. And many European countries have wanted possession of it. And you could point to Thessaloniki as the sort of magnetic point round which all these quarrels revolved.
With the definitive fixing of the borders, some of the quarreling did end. An exchange of populations solved the problem of nearly 50 years of antagonism between Greece and Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire. Hundreds and thousands of refugees, Muslims, Bulgarians and Greeks, flooded back to the countries of their ethnic origins.
A lot of people lived outside the territories. The territories were fixed with the war. But during the First World War, in 1919, in 1923, there was a mass exchange of population between Greece and Bulgaria and Greece and Turkey. So, in Hellenic Macedonia, the population had the majority of Greek-speaking population, Greek consciousness, in 1926 to 86%, which was unique in the Balkans at the time. Now it is more than 98%. And, well, thousands, tens of thousands of Greeks came from Bulgaria, from Eastern Thrace, from Asia Minor, and some tens of thousands of Bulgarians emigrated from Hellenic Macedonia to Bulgaria also.
With the start of the Second World War, the Bulgarians found themselves with a new window of opportunity. With this war came another chance to satisfy that need for access to the coast. But the Bulgarians made a decision which they would live to regret.
In the Second World War, the Bulgarians were allies with the Germans, and when Hitler invaded Greece in 1941, he used the Bulgarians to occupy eastern Greek Macedonia, which the Bulgarians clearly intended to retain permanently in their own possession. And this is something which the Greeks cannot even today forget. Of course, you can trace the conflict back as far as you like into history, but the acute phase began about 50 years ago with the end of the Second World War, the emergence of the communist states in the Balkans, the conflicts both between the West and the Soviet Union and within the Balkan states, for example, between Tito and Stalin, and therefore between the Yugoslavs and the Bulgarians, who were quarreling between themselves as well as with Greece over Macedonia.
But the communist leader Tito had his solution. His partisan resistance movement against the Germans and the Bulgarians would become the foundation of a new federation of socialist states.
The Republic of Macedonia within Yugoslavia was formally created in 1944 under Tito's government. People living there had called themselves Macedonians before, but you won't find the name Macedonia applied to that part of the map at any date before 1944. And nobody really noticed the creation of this state at the time, and nobody realized at the time that Tito had a purpose in mind in creating it. It meant that Tito wanted to annex Greek Macedonia and acquire the port of Salonika or Thessaloniki as his outlet from the Balkans to the Mediterranean. It is quite clear that Tito invented the name, which had never existed before,